Public relations, or PR, is a not especially gentle art of hype, persuasion, spin, bias, massage, concealment, distortion, vacuous enthusiasm, sinister intent, double talk, half-truths, and complete bullshit. And yet most of the time, PR is accepted as fact. But there are times when PR goes horribly wrong. And it's during these times we're treated to the exhilarating spectacle known as the PR disaster. This is a trout. And so is this.
I'm surprised there wasn't a lynch mob waiting.
Deborah Peed is a PR trout, a slippery, high-salaried species which plagues New Zealand media. Most PR trouts are women. Why? Science doesn't have the answers yet. But a 1996 close-up story on an oil industry PR disaster is a classic example of women wearing the PR pants much more snugly than men. When super unleaded petrol was found to tear the guts out of car engines, the 4 major oil companies sent in Caltex's PR man, Peter Hazel, to front the media. But he couldn't handle it. Mopping his brow, he ran for his life from the assembled hacks.
Please cut from it, please. I feel quite ill. I'm very sorry.
Do you want me to...
You can carry on a bit. I feel very bad. I'm sorry.
In stepped BP's PR trout, whose name really was Beppy Holm. BP Beppy took control. She talked to Holmes and had the balls to stun a mullet when she told this bogan that his car was a heap of shit.
No disrespect is meant to Mr. Armour, but the Ford franchise dealer has said that his car wasn't in particularly good condition, had not been particularly well maintained.
Blouse-wearing Beppy drew high praise from her colleagues.
Very professional. I've listened to journalists, particularly on the radio, interrupting her and cutting across her, and she's just carried on speaking the sentence that she was speaking before and put the information across coolly.
BP Beppy's expert blather was a masterclass in a tried but true PR tactic. When you're up against the wall, bore your critics stupid. They'll soon go away.
We've put in place this interim limit on the amount of soluene and toluene that we can contain in the premium unleaded, very much as a precautionary step while we complete the rest of the test work.
For the New Zealand Police, 2007 is their Annus Horribilis. Here we see Mr. Annus Horribilis himself, full-time orgiast Brad Shipton. The group sex, involving Shipton, Bob Sholem and Clint Rickards, was a PR disaster for police. But if there's one thing even more damaging than sordid behaviour, it's farce. Exhibit A, the search for a murdered Chinese woman, Ann Liu, in Auckland. Her body lay in the trunk of her car for 4 days, right beneath the cops' noses. Exhibit B, the infamous Dog Day evening in Christchurch, when cops fired off round after round at Chopper the chomping Rottweiler and failed to register a single hit. To compound the PR disaster, the police fronted up to the media by sending in a cop wearing a bad moustache.
How many shots were fired?
Up to a dozen, I believe.
And none hit the dog?
Correct.
They're not very good shots.
It's a case of a small, fast-moving target.
Let's take another look at that small, fast-moving target and count the shots. 11, 12, 13, 14. 14. Here are some rules to observe when faced with a PR disaster. Don't send in a baldy or a moustache. Send in a trout. Under no circumstance should you just attempt to hide. But that's what Ribena tried to do when they were rumbled by two Auckland schoolgirls. This teenage Watson and Crick conducted a simple test and revealed that ready-to-drink Ribena contained no vitamin C, despite what it said on the bottle and in TV ads.
It's the juicy black currants with 4 times the vitamin C of oranges that make Ribena so delicious.
We sent them a letter and an email and they never replied. So a little while later we called.
Yeah, then they didn't really answer our question. I think they didn't take us very seriously because we were 14 at the time.
15 charges of misleading advertising went to the Commerce Commission. It cost Ribena an estimated $200,000 and a shitload of bad publicity.
This could be, the death knell for the brand.
Some PR disasters are an act of God. When the All Blacks crashed and burned and choked at the Rugby World Cup, sponsors could only look on in horror. Their worst fears were confirmed by this little tyke.
I don't like eating wheat bix because it reminds me of the All Blacks losing.
But that PR disaster was a dinghy compared to the Titanic that struck Mercury Energy this year. The power company invited disgust and contempt when Filolo Mulianga, a 44-year-old mother of 4, died after Mercury cut off electricity at her South Auckland home. She was on an oxygen machine. Her unpaid power bill was $168.40. The power company broke the golden rule of PR disaster management and sent in a man with a moustache. Mighty River Power CEO Doug Heffernan made a hash of it.
We do deeply regret the loss of the lady.
The lady. He didn't even know her name. Mercury tried to make up for its perceived callousness when Heffernan togged himself up in a lava and presented a woven mat and some sympathy money to the Mulianga's house. It must be assumed the power was put back on before the visit. But the visit didn't help. Protesters took to the streets, and family spokesman Brendan Sheehan gave Mercury a blast.
As managers of companies, they should be sacked.
Close Up treated the story as a lesson in spin, bias and persuasion when it invited PR trout Deborah Peed onto the show. Peed was full of advice on how to handle the disaster.
I suspect their lawyers are advising them on no comment, but no comment is not appropriate in this situation. No comment says empathy, no comment says that they have something to hide, and no comment creates a media vacuum. And we know media don't like vacuums. When there's a vacuum, they will fill it with space, they will fill it with comment, they'll fill it with views and opinions.
Peed filled the void by bringing her mother into it.
My mother's not elderly or on an oxygen machine, but she's concerned now that this could happen to her in the future.
There's no doubt that a trout can avert a PR disaster. Their fish-face stare and policy of diversion can get the guiltiest client off the hook. It's a myth that the news media and PR are locked in combat. Bombarded with press releases and free sponsors' products and junkets to exotic locations, the news media has become a willing accomplice to public relations exercises. Still to come, more sexed up sleaze in the sealed section. And what's up Tommy's bum?